Hi, and welcome to my podcast. I'm Janine Plesh. I created this podcast as a means of self-expression, to share with others some of the insights, wisdom, practices, stories, and people who have inspired me on my journey as a yoga teacher, practitioner, and evolving human being. My vision of the world is one of a conscious world, where all people understand that suffering is optional, and that who we are is abundant, free, and ever-expanding joy. With that said, let's begin. Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be exploring the topic of self-care and motivation. This topic has been ringing in my ears. I've been seeing it everywhere, this idea of, or this topic of self-care, maybe because of the pandemic. People are, and also the post-pandemic, people are realizing that we can't just stay in survival mode and we need to start finding a new sense of normal and getting back in a way to our regular lives, or at least creating a new sense of normal where we feel that we're inspired and living the life that we want to live, unrestricted by the pandemic rules and regulations. I talk about the pandemic, but this topic is also relevant for any time we're going through some kind of transition. And for me, this is why this topic has been a hot topic in my mind and in my life, is because I've been going through a big transition, not just with COVID, but transitioning from one job to just trying to find my, get back to my full-time teaching schedule and just like finding my footing again post-pandemic. So let's just dive in. I think that would be the best way to start, and look at the definition of self-care. So, of course, I went to Google and trusted Google. And the definition here says, self-care is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. And it goes on to say it's the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. I think we can all agree that the pandemic and just life in general often throws us moments of stress. Stress is normal. It's a normal experience of being a human being. And but how do we kind of stay motivated and keep growing in the direction that we want to in those moments? Well, self-care is one of those things. So one of the things in this definition that really kind of drew me into the definition was this idea of taking an active role. So taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness. And this was like really important for me because it was like, oh yeah, I'm in charge of my own well-being. I'm in charge of my own happiness. And if there's anything that I learned through the pandemic is how easy it is to kind of place the blame of our unhappiness on the media or on the COVID restrictions, or, it's like, oh, well, I can't be happy because I have to wear a mask, or I can't be happy because I can't travel. It's so easy to place the blame on something else rather than take responsibility and realize, actually, my own well-being and my happiness is my responsibility. And it's my responsibility, regardless of the container that I find myself in, the environment or, rules or the culture or whatever I'm living, whatever my environment is, whatever that box is, it's still my responsibility. I'm still in that box. And while I'm in that box, I am responsible for my own happiness and my own well-being within that context. So, this idea of taking an active role really rings true in my mind and is really something that I live my life by. But I will also admit that there are times in our lives where we will be more passive, where we just kind of have to ride the roller coaster of life, and that choosing to do so is also part of taking that active role of saying, okay, you know what? I feel like I don't have much control. So the only control I have is to say, okay, I'm just going to be passive here and I'm going to just ride this wave. And when I get on more solid ground, I will, take more of I will do more, I'll take more steps. And we all need to do that in life. And so if you're in that headspace, I totally understand. And it's definitely part of the journey. But there will be opportunities on that roller coaster to take more charge. And this is what I'm talking about today is how can we really seize those opportunities? So just kind of going back to like my reason for doing this podcast was because, I'm going through my own transition. And one of the things that I realized was that, okay, I have to kind of like there was like an opportunity for me to get off that roller coaster ride of stress and anxiety. And I realized that in my life, I have experienced many moments of happiness and joy, and I'm generally, I feel like I'm living life in abundance, and I wanted to kind of reconnect with that part of myself. So I knew that I had to kind of take charge of my life once again, and that's what I did. My sleep schedule was really off, which made it that I was going to bed really late, waking up, sleeping in, I would say, but really just because I went to bed so late that I had to, if I wanted to get any quality sleep, I had to sleep in. That would create a vicious cycle of, me not being able to wake up early enough to have time for myself in the morning where I can just, do exercise and even do my own yoga practice. And I remember a time where before COVID where I was, and even during COVID on and off, because, these things, it's like, it happens that it goes on and off, but like, and I do remember a time where I was like, okay, very happy and, feeling very connected to myself because I was going to bed at a regular schedule. I was having a regular sleep schedule, and I was getting my 8 to 9 hours. For me, it's like 8 to 9 hours that I need of sleep to be highly functional and to be able to have, my mornings open to do my devotional practice and just recharge, reconnect on a daily basis with my spirit. So that was important to me, and I knew that it happened in the past, and I knew that I wanted to get back to that. So one of the things that I want to share with you guys is just like some of the steps that I took to get back to that, and how to create, how to really build motivation in your self-care routine, if you wish, or your work towards being more caring to yourself. So the first thing is that I had to figure out what my goal is. So step one, know what your goal is. And I knew that I wanted to get back to my pre-COVID abundance. I wanted to feel more connected with myself. But of course, we have to put it in the concrete, to just say, oh, well, I want to be happy, but like, what does that look like, And so the goal has to be measurable. It has to be something that says, okay, great. Yes, I got there. I'm there. And I remember that when I was I would say like the happiest or the most in my abundance was when I was sleeping well and had a morning routine. So those were like two steps, if you wish, towards what I knew was going to be like me connected to my abundance, and would help me actually connect to my abundance. So my goal, reconnect fully with my abundance. And for me, it was like creating the sub goal of, okay, I know that I am most abundant, I am most connected to my abundance when I am sleeping well, and I am, when I have like a healthy morning routine. Now, yours might be different. Your goal might be different, and your sub goals, your steps towards that might be different, right? But the idea is to know what is it that you want to feel in your life? What is it that you're trying to get back to, if you're trying to get back to something, or what is it that you're trying to create? And then what is what is it that you want to what are the things that you think you should be doing to get there? And this is the difference. So I really want to focus on this self-care aspect. And I think that most of us, if not all of us, all of you listening, have probably experienced a time in your life where you felt that you were caring for yourself, right? Maybe it was before you had kids or before you got married, or, like some time of your life, or before the pandemic. There's some time in your life where you felt that you were optimal, right? So the invitation here is just to kind of like remember that you can use that as a goal. Like we can't go backwards. We're always going to go forward, but you can still use your own experience because you've experienced it already. That happiness, that sense of caring for yourself and enjoying life, it lives inside of you. It is who you are. If you've experienced it, then then it's still there. So use that memory as your launching pad, like as your springboard towards your new normal. So that's what I did. I knew pre-pandemic, I was sleeping well, I had my morning routine, and I was feeling super connected to my abundance. So that's what I used. And maybe my morning routine will change in the future, and maybe that's not going to be what I use to connect to my abundance. It doesn't matter. The goal is to connect to my abundance, and my way there that I can relate to, that I know of, that I've had experience with, is good sleep, and good morning routine. So you have to find that for yourself, but pull from your own experience of what you know has gotten you there in the past and maximize on that. So the first step, know what your goal is. Know what it is that you want. And part of that is, knowing what you have to do or to get there. Like pulling from your example, pulling from your own experience, because that is how you got there before. So there's no reason that won't work, at least somewhat now. The second thing is that I had to make a commitment to myself. And a commitment to myself that I would commit to this goal, and really to commit to, and I mean, you can see it interchangeably. Like maybe you want to put make a commitment. I think maybe I probably made a commitment to myself first and then I set my goal. But, knowing what your goal is will definitely help. We're all people who are like, oh, I wish I could do this or I wish I could do that. Well, okay, good. Set that as your goal. And then now make a commitment to it. And for me, it was like, I had to make a commitment not to just my goal, but I made a commitment to putting myself first. So make a commitment to put yourself first. And by that, it was really, I make a commitment to putting myself first, and putting myself first meant that I deserve to live in my own abundance. I deserve to be connected to my abundance, and therefore I'm going to put myself first, and that whatever I do when I put myself first is going to feed that goal. Third, moving forward, break down your goal into bite-sized pieces. So you already heard that, even my big goal of okay, I want to get back to my abundance. Even at that, that was such a big goal. I had to realize, okay, what does that mean for me? What does that mean? When am I connected to my abundance? Oh, I'm connected when I'm sleeping well and when I have my morning routine. So in the beginning, I already kind of broke it down, but you might do it in the third step to make it a little bit more concrete for yourself. At this stage, what I did was I was like, okay, how do I create this? How do I get more sleep? And how do I create a morning routine? Well, actually, they're kind of both, getting sleep was what I needed to create my morning routine, right? So they're that was the progression. I knew that I needed better sleep. And, but in order for me to get better sleep, I was like, okay, how do I get better sleep? Well, I have to make sure that I go to bed before midnight. And how do I get myself to bed before midnight? Okay, well, I have to make sure that I had to create something. I had to create a step that would get me close to my bed by midnight, right? So I was like, okay, when I get home, I'm going to eat supper, and then straight away I'm going to take my shower and start brushing my teeth. And at that time I was watching TV with my boyfriend at night, and I was just like, okay, I can't do that anymore. I am committed to myself, and I'm committed not just to myself, but I'm committed to putting myself first. And that meant that I was committed to going to bed by midnight. And therefore I would just, take my shower, brush my teeth, get ready for bed. And then maybe that meant I would cuddle with my boyfriend on the sofa for a few minutes, but I was looking at the time, and then I would go to bed. that helped me wake up early. So that was like the first step, right? The first step, I had to break it down. And then I was like, okay, well, what's my morning routine? And although my morning routine grew over time, because I knew that I was like, okay, well, I want to make sure that I'm, I go for my walk, I do my yoga, and I work out, and so although that's what I do now, that's not where I started, like it started with get your ass out of the house or actually it started with wake up and don't press snooze. It was like, don't press snooze. That was the first. Then it was don't press snooze, get out of bed, like kick yourself out of the house first thing and go for that walk. Once I was walking, I realized that my motivation levels were so much higher. And every time let me back up. Every time that I met one of those steps, when I was taking my shower at night, I was like, wow, I am motivated to go to bed by midnight. When I got to bed before midnight, I was motivated to wake up the next morning and not press snooze. When I didn't press snooze, I got even more excited because I knew that there was like 3 or 4 steps that had gotten me here and I made it. And every step that I stuck to, I was like building that motivation. I was banking on it, I was investing in myself and I was seeing that investment grow, and so by the time I actually leave the house in the morning to go for that walk, I'm just like walking on a cloud, So you need those bite-size goals, so you have your big goal, but then you need those bite-sized ones, You make your goal, you commit to that goal, and then you have to make those bite-sized pieces. And you'll see that achieving those little bite-sized pieces, it's like, wow, And sometimes, sometimes we realize, I think the reason why most people don't achieve their goals is when you don't achieve your goals or when you are not, you're not able to care for yourself is because you're not able to find that bite-sized piece. A lot of people take these big chunks and then they're like, I'm going to change the world tomorrow morning. Everybody's made that, my self at night is not the same self in the morning. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. How many of us before we go to bed say, tomorrow I am going to change my life. I'm going to do this and that. And then we wake up in the morning, we're like, fuck that, and it's like a vicious cycle. So take bite-sized pieces and do bite-sized pieces. And if that doesn't work, your bite size is too big, or there's a misalignment between your goal and your commitment. I'll maybe talk about that later. The next step is to be consistent. So for sure, whatever your motivation will grow over time. The more of those bite-sized pieces start arranging themselves like dominoes, you take your shower at night and then you're you're in bed by midnight, and then the next morning it's easier for you to wake up so you don't have to press snooze and da-da-da. So the more you start doing that first step, that first bite, the more consistent you are at taking that first bite, the easier it will be to take the second one. And the more motivated also you will be, because you're going to feel that you can do it. And it might happen that you take that first bite and you're really on a kick, you're doing it. You're like, I took my shower every day before midnight and I am like on a roll. And then you take that second bite and then you only do it like for 2 days. But keep taking the shower. Keep taking the shower and keep, like every time that there's that motivation to do that next step, do it. Do it. And then be consistent at it, and you'll see bite after bite, it gets easier and it will get easier. And you're going to see that you're achieving your goal, like without knowing it, without actually like holding on and being in your own abundance. You will be in your own abundance and you're going to feel it that moment that you take those bites. You have to treat it like medicine, because part of the thing, and this is kind of the next step, which is step number 5. Part of being consistent. So still part of being consistent. So step number 4, which is stay consistent, is know that it's not going to be easy. I think if we think that things are going to be easy, oh yeah, I'll just do this and it will all work out. It's not going to be easy. It will be easy once we kind of like keep taking those little bites, but there's going to be moments where it's not easy and it's going to be even hard. If you expect, and then somebody would probably, I'm sure you're thinking, well, if it's hard, if it's going to be hard, but that's why I'm not doing it, because it's hard, like I already bust my ass off all day. Why am I going to add this added challenge to my life? Okay, well, you can bust your ass all day and not reach your goals, or you can bust your ass all day and reach your goals. Which would you prefer? And that was kind of like a realization that I had was, I was waking up day after day, waking up like later than I wanted to, not enjoying my morning, feeling like I was missing out on my day, feeling like I was cheating myself out of a good day and suffering because of it. And then I realized, you know what? And then when I thought about like waking up early, I was like, oh, that's going to be so hard. It's going to be so hard to wake up early. I'm going to just suffer even more. And I said, well, Janine, you're already suffering. You're already suffering. So why not choose a suffering that actually gets you to your goal? Why not choose something that you already have proof of in your life will get you to your goal? And I was like, oh yeah. Okay. And so when I realized and I accepted that, okay, this is not going to be easy, it made it easier to be consistent, because being consistent doesn't mean that every day is going to feel the same. It will feel different every day because we're changing every day. Just ask my hormones. So expect it to be challenging. Expect it to be challenging. Be prepared for that. But know that you're investing in yourself. Every sweat, every challenge, every tear that you shed is an investment towards a direction that you actually want to be in. And you're going to feel the rewards of that instantly, rather than, when I'm waking up late and I feel like shit, I feel like shit all day. But when I wake up and I don't press snooze and I'm waking up at a regular hour for me, and I feel like shit when I'm waking up, but I'm doing it towards my own goal, I literally feel good instantaneously after I've done it. It might be a little struggle. Just get over that initial struggle, knowing that, accepting that there will be a little bit of a struggle. Get over that, and you're instantly going to feel rewarded. And that's what's going to be the money that you reinvest into your next day, into taking that next bite. So again, I can talk about this forever. Let's move on. So then, once you're consistent, once you're seeing those results, the next step number 5, is to recognize and be grateful when the quality of your life improves, right? Like, don't wait to have that big goal. Part of being motivated and staying self-motivated in our self-care efforts is realizing, oh shit, I'm taking care of myself. This is it. I did it. I took that bite. Celebrate and be grateful for it. And this doesn't mean that you go get shit-faced and start if you're maybe on a weight loss journey and then you start binge eating or something like that. But it just internally even, just recognize, feel the reward, be like, oh wow, I did this. And be grateful to yourself that you gave yourself that gift. Because nobody is going to give you a trophy for taking care of yourself. We have to do that for ourselves, right? We might get praise from other people who admire our journey and admire the work that we're doing, and that they're like, wow, you take so good care of yourself, and that definitely touches our hearts. I know it touches mine, but really the validation has to come from ourselves for it to actually have real meaning, and for it to actually be convert into motivation for us to continue doing what we're doing. So recognize and be grateful when the quality of your life improves. And it should improve immediately. As soon as you take that bite, you should feel like, wow, okay, I took that bite. Maybe, there's not going to be fireworks or rainbows and butterflies, but you should be proud of yourself that you took that bite, And maybe the next bite didn't work out as much as you wanted to, but it's like, okay, no, wait, I started this journey. Tomorrow, that second bite is going to be a lot easier. So recognize that and be grateful. And watch. Honor your process. It's not going to be a straight line. Sometimes there's maybe you're somebody who takes the scenic route, and that's okay. Stay on track in the sense that you're continuously coming back to that goal. And consistent doesn't mean necessarily daily. It doesn't mean that you're taking a bite every day. Maybe your commitment won't be to put yourself first every day. Maybe it will be put yourself first once a week. I would strongly encourage you to put yourself first once a day, but you have to find the rhythm that works for you. But whatever you find, commit to it. And when you feel the rewards of that, the quality of your life improving, in the moment that it improves, be grateful. Recognize it and be grateful. And praise yourself for your own ability to care for yourself. That brings me to my last point, which is once we recognize that and we're grateful and we're validating ourselves, we can then reinvest that. So we reinvest that motivation, that lightness that you'll feel, reinvest that, use that, ride that wave to take the next bite, to take that next step on your journey towards your goal. And know that, again, it really is about the journey. It's not about the goal. Like the goal, you are living that goal by living those steps, you know? So, and again, you'll feel it. You'll feel like you're in your abundance when you're doing that. So you reinvest. So invest your newfound motivation and energy into that next bite of your goal. That is really what it's all about. And then repeat. Remember your goal every day. Remember your goal. Remember the commitment that you made to yourself. Break down your goal into bite-sized pieces. Be consistent at taking a bite every day or at the frequency that you decide. Recognize and be grateful that every time you took a bite, recognize and be grateful when the quality of your life improves. And then as you feel that gratitude rising inside of you, reinvest that energy, that motivation and that newfound energy into that next bite. That next bite that's working towards your goal. This is what self-care is all about. It's the practice of taking action to preserve or improve our own health, well-being, and happiness. It's an active role that we have to participate in on a daily, a weekly basis to really feel motivated in our lives. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I'd love to hear from you. Please share below, click the like button, and subscribe to my channel for more videos and podcasts just like this one. Until next time, breathe and be well. Namaste.